School Board Recognition Week, and we would like to take a few moments to recognize a group of people who give up many Tuesday nights, put up with my weekly updates, and do a number of things for the betterment of the school district and community. So I'd like to read a proclamation that was signed by our Governor Cuomo. Whereas each year School Board Recognition Week is observed by more than 700 school boards in school districts throughout the Empire State, and whereas our state's public education system is designed to meet the educational needs of all children and to empower them to become competent, productive contributors to the local school boards respond to the educational needs of the communities they serve and help ensure the solid foundation of our school system. In doing so, these leaders help strengthen our state's educational system and improve future prospects for our children. And whereas during October 21 through 25, 2019, special activities and programs will be held in communities across New York State in observance of School Board Recognition Week, and it is fitting to join in acknowledging the commitment and contributions of members of our local school boards. Now, therefore, I, Andrew M. Cuomo, Governor of the State of New York, do hereby proclaim October 21 to 25, 2019 as School Board Recognition Week.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
But wait, there's more. We did a to match their pieces, resulting in a unified artwork, and everybody has a framed picture
We do the
of this.
reveal.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Was that, huh?
Beautiful. Thank you so
And
much.
in the back of this, somewhere here,
In the back of, yeah?
on the back of this little card is every student who contributed to that piece of artwork.
Yep. So it's on the back of
Oh,
that
on this
card.
card right here.
All right?
Oh, very nice.
And there's also a certificate in there, too. Okay? So again, guys, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for all you
Thank
do
you.
for all of us. By the way, this is framed.
Then thank you note if you
You
want
could,
to.
you
Okay,
may
sure.
do
Give
that,
those
and
to you.
thank you for obliging.
Absolutely.
Very nice, thank you. All right. We had a second. Any questions, all in favor with the
Aye.
agenda? Aye. All right. So tonight we have a couple presentations. First, Digital Creators, the evolution of the sixth grade computer class. Mr. Taj O'Brien, Instructional Technology Specialist, and Mr. Andy Grammatico, sixth grade teacher. we ready?
Wonderful.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So thank you for letting us present today on the digital creators. My name is Taj O'Brien. I'm an instructional technologist.
And create, for future educational endeavors as well as in work and in life. We wanted to create opportunities for digital collaboration and shared decision making for students. We wanted to help to develop and create a culture of responsibility, especially when it comes to use of technology, which is a very powerful tool, as we know. And lastly, our goal was to improve student understanding of how and why we use technology today. All right. So, in the past, students were using technology in their content area classes. We're kind of all at different levels throughout the year based on how they were receiving technology instruction. A course called Digital Life, it was the precursor to our course this year. In year one of Digital Life, it was taught as a 10-week class. It was every day. But kind of the roadblock was some students would receive it in the beginning of the year, and some students would receive physical use of the device, being able to use the Google apps such as Google Docs and Google Sheets, proper use of email as it related to their coursework. And digital citizenship was also taught through the Common Sense Media program. We've kind of expanded on that, and it's given us an opportunity to have every student starting more or less from week one on the same page, which kind of gives a little bit of freedom when it comes to the core content area instruction. Sorry.
Nope, you're okay. So as Andy mentioned, when we kind of started putting this together, we looked at quite a few different things. And one of the things I think that's key is we're looking at the computer as something to create with. Really, it is a 21st century paintbrush. It really gives the kids a lot of ways to design and show what they know. This is not my quote. I linked to the quote that is actually related to the article associated with it. But it really does that is kind of one of the ways we have framed that as we've looked at the course. We're looking at 4 key areas as it relates to the use of the technology in and out of the classroom. The first 2 are really the digital design. So a lot of middle-level jobs have now gone to CAD, CNC, and things of that nature. We now have the tools that are cheap enough and accessible enough for kids to really be able to explore that stuff and understand how things are developed in mass production, everything from the chairs we sit in to the tables that we eat at. It's also going along with some of the work the state's been doing. One thing I forgot to mention in the last slide is that the state's goal has been really, they've created a draft of computer science standards currently. It's currently out for review, and they're looking at putting this down through the legislative process in the coming years. So their goal overarching is every student will know how to live productively and safely in a technology-dominated world, including understanding essential features of digital technology, the why and how they work, Science Teacher Association standards. These are a little more of the technology-focused standards. There is a strand in the New York State standards that are looking at this, things like data science, things like understanding cybersecurity, computers, and networking. So as we get to the later units in our course with regards to programming and digital fabrication, this is really kind of what we hope to touch on these things as well. Some of the benefits, so one of the benefits that we didn't list on here is that I'm starting to look at is how I can use my current role to actually connect with the 6th grade team. Some of the benefits of this is since Andy and I are working together, we add and see the entire 6th grade class in teacher that's looking at ancient civilizations and how can we connect back with those things. So it's kind of, hopefully it will be a two-way street in that regard.
So it sounds like you guys are aligned with the other teachers on the team there in terms of what their needs were as teachers, what they're asking students to do, and then you're asking students to do the same in your classroom.
Yeah, so I think what we've, with Andy, a lot of Andy's help is when we first started talking about this, he was really about like, we're spending, the core teachers are spending what, a significant amount of time, so.
We were spending close to the first month of school getting students familiar with Google Classroom, working with Google Docs to produce work.
Collaborative projects, because I don't want to have to feel like Andy has a huge additional collaboration piece with the other teachers, because that is partly my role in the organization. So does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent, thank you.
We're actually kind of working on a little science, integrating it with science to begin with. Taj has shown me, and we're going to show the kids how to use Google Earth, and kids are going to form a hypothesis about where they can get the best candy if they go trick-or-treating. They're going to use Google Earth and the latitude and longitude locations to literally map out their trick-or-treating path. And it's a very powerful tool. And we hope to get them to have a better understanding of what they can use it for, rather than, like Taj said, being consumers of information,
Right.
and actually becoming creators and using it for their own power.
And keeping the citizenship role in
Yeah.
with that.
Very much so. One of the big things that we've talked about, I mean, we've done the introduction with Google Classroom and the Docs, the Google Apps for Education, but we've spent a good deal amount of time right now, or recently, talking about their digital footprint and understanding how to identify.
A lot of students have, if they don't have them themselves, they understand that that's out there, as well as, I mean, everything from a kid getting cell phone, we all get cell phone blasted now with numbers that aren't necessarily, you know, a legitimate number, and how do those things play out? And there's really, I mean, we've all become bigger and bigger targets. I kind of live on the semi-paranoid side of those things, so I really think that, you know, giving kids the opportunity to do that, as well as understanding that when they're producing things, oftentimes technology is a very small lens in how they are producing information and what they're using for everything from like the Internet of Things, where they're sensing information based on colors and things of that nature. They're not using a large enough swath of our population to really understand who is being
And the parent and the teacher.
So we have focused mostly on the students at this point in time. There's probably some room for us to develop that a little bit more, to look at it from a parental perspective. But knowing that a lot of the current practices from a grading perspective are really through the school tool platform. We have really, outside of letting kids know that's where they should be checking their grades, we haven't done a ton of formal education in regards to reaching out to the parents in that way. So there's opportunities as we're developing this to kind of look at some of those things, and we'll work with administration in regards to that. I think that's really probably, from that perspective, a good space to go. It's a great question. Did you have anything to add? I want to just...
No, we're also trying to pull in as much information from other districts that are in the process of developing their curriculum as well. You know, Rush Henrietta, Canandaigua, Eastridge, I know, is big in the use of the technology. And we're trying to see what's out there, what other schools have done. And we hope to reach out to some teachers from some of the other districts. And
using the digitalliteracy.assessment.org site, which has some pre-built tools. They are focused on a variety of different subject areas from a computer literacy standpoint. So using those just to get a sense of where the kids are at has been helpful. And then the last thing is really looking at student-created projects. We want to see what the kids can actually create. So the next kind of 4 slides are examples of some of these. So just to give you a sense, the first 2 are related to the assessment piece. We told the kids we were not worried about scores. These are all pre-assessment pieces. But this gives us a sense of where they are with regards to their skills in using the computer. Some of them were a little different than what they may be used to in front of them in the Chromebook, so that's kind of why we got a little bit of variation. But this is also giving us some ability to look back out there that have different skill sets with regards to drawing and a variety of other things. We want to give them those options. So this is a student that is sharing that they're a big Netflix fan. The TikTok icon, if you're not familiar with it, is the kind of, I don't even know what it is. It's a T maybe. I'm not a big TikTok person, but this student is definitely a YouTube fan, and she's a big fan of Stranger Things. I think she's kind of mapped that through there. So, really giving the kids an opportunity to share who they are. Another TikToker, again, they're big YouTube. The other 2 things we asked them were kind of what their handles were online, as well as some of their favorite memes and different things that they enjoyed online. I think there's also, we asked them like how late they were up on the computer is one of the other ones. And then you can see we
Our second presentation this evening, the Budget Development Planning Budget Calendar 2020-2021, Ms. Stacy Sansucci, School Business Administrator.
Hey, how do I get this back here? Speaking of technology,
They're here.
is that it? Is that it? Yeah. Okay, Taj, I need you.
Clean getaway.
Wait, the tech director's still sitting here.
I know. See how he's like doing
That's the one who said your name, it wasn't.
Asking for a raise next week.
Everybody got the pieces of paper?
I forgot my.
Where's our overhead?
I can do it. They have the handouts, but I know it's on there.
Which one's it on? It's on computer, right?
Could be one of those two. Try HDMI, is there an HDMI?
Because that's just power.
Thanks, Andy.
Oh, wait, hold on. Hit function F7 still?
Usually,
Signal status is all.
it was just working.
I know.
I'm sitting here in.
All right. I mean,
This had it working.
Stace, could you wait a second, please?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, she's back. Never
I'm
mind.
back. No,
She's back.
I forgot I put my power.
Thank you. Well, this is, it's the start of budget season. Can you believe it already? This is the calendar. You have in your packets tonight a resolution on the agenda to approve the 2021 budget calendar. This isn't new. We do this every year. However, we kind of expanded the calendar a little bit this year to include some different things, so we thought it would be a good idea to kind of go through it. Well, you have it in your packets. It's 6 pages long. There's no way we're going to go through every part. But we thought we'd just give you some of the highlights. So it's been a proactive start to the budget development season. We've talked about it a lot. We've talked about it as an administrative cabinet. In light of the size of our gap from last year, we're being proactive and starting early. This is actually probably one of the earliest we've ever approved the budget calendar in October. So we've started to talk about things. We're planning. The word season up there is highlighted because, as you know, every year we have a theme. For budgeting, we've done trains, puzzles, bridges, I believe was last year. So I thought that maybe seasons is kind of an emerging theme that we'll work on. You know, we're taking a look of what we've done. We are talking a lot about the past and where we want to be in the future, just like trees lose their leaves. And so then we'll kind of develop from there. Administrative cabinet, core values, rather. So what your budget development calendar includes are outlined details and dates and deadlines throughout budget development. And a lot of these are SED regulated dates and timelines to get everybody to the annual budget vote. So a lot of these things are given to us by SED, but we do have the opportunity to take and use the calendar also to our advantage for development. We're going to have focus topics, like I said, in administrative cabinet, kind of for alignment and collaboration, so that we take a look at some of our in-district programs. Are they working for us? Are they meeting the needs of the students? And how are they? Can we really show that? Do we need to go back and tweak some? So building on the alignment work that we started this summer in our retreat with administrative cabinet, these are some of the topics that are on the agendas and within that calendar that you have. We'll look at some enrollment projections and staffing, our in-district programs. Like I said, is this effective? Is it working? Is it not working? Building level budgets, always kind of starting with zero-based budgeting, meaning what do you need to run your program is often what we ask teachers, and starting from there. Professional development and curriculum, which we'll look at in detail this year. We have Sarah with us this year, so she has a new lens and a new focus. So we will look at those items. Special education is a big cost item, as we've talked about in the past for the district. We did some things last year. We brought a class in-house. It's working very well. We will keep those discussions going throughout the season. Athletic programs, our technology, our IT initiative, summer programming, and of course facilities and equipment are some of the items. And so just as a summary to that long calendar that you have, October to February is really the development stage.
Clearly what we're going to do, what the expectations will be, and as we come to the meeting date, as we get closer, Stacy will, she already sent some invites today for the extra meetings. Those are by invitation only. We don't have to have the whole cabinet there to discuss it. And what the expectation and the data that we're expecting people to bring with them, so we can analyze it and make the best decision to put this budget together. There should be no surprises. Okay? We're really trying to have a more open communication style so everybody's on the same page and everybody can go out and speak the same language.
Sounds good.
And thank you, Stace. This was
Yeah.
good.
Thank you. I applaud your efforts to get ahead of it. It'll give you more time.
That's the big convention that they have every year. And for the 100th, it was in Rochester this year. So next month, I should have a report on the convention and go from there. That's all I got.
I attended the information exchange meeting this month. They talked about school mental health partnerships, which we have one as well here. Some of the schools, what they're doing with collaborations with hospitals to get mental health support in the schools. So, it was good to see that we're, cutting edge and doing things that we're supposed to be doing in terms of our peer schools. So I learned a lot about that. So that's what we discussed, and that's all I have. Superintendent report.
Okay. She's third grade class. A year ago, in the 17-18 school year, 11 students did a writing and submitted it to be reviewed to see whether or not it could be published, and 2 of those kids were published. Wow. And they're in the Library of Congress.
That's cool.
So, building upon success, Christina thought she'd do it again. Every one of the children's essays were approved.
That's great.
Okay? Last night at the foundation, they actually approved spending close to $500 to buy every kid a book.
Nice.
So we get one for the classroom, which will end up in the library. There's one in the Library of Congress. And then every child will get one. But thank you to the foundation. They're great.
That's good.
Actually, they approved 6 grants last night.
Nice.
So that's the 2 nice things that
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Personnel report. Is there a motion to adopt the personnel report?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
Any questions?
There are a couple items that
Questions?
are highlighted, and those were changes since that you
Yep.
got those, okay? We gave those to you just before the meeting,
No concerns?
okay?
Any concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, so we have old business.
Yeah. Just saw this.
Right, page 5?
Yeah?
Resolve that
Page
these...
4, yeah.
Oh,
4, well, continue to page 5, yeah.
resolve that the East Rochester Board of Education approve the revised Board of Education schedule to include November 5th, 2019, for a board workshop at 7 PM.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Right, the acceptance of the 2018-2019 independent external audit. Resolved that the Board of Education accept the recommendation of the Audit Committee to accept the annual independent audit for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2019, and be it further resolved that such audit and management letter shall be filed with the Commissioner of Education. Vince and I attended the meeting of the committee. We heard from Tom Zuber, our CPA from Mengel, Metzer, and Barr, that there was a focus on the equity and reserves. The fund balance went down due to the planned use of reserves for the upcoming capital improvement project. The school lunch program continues to have financial health. We continue to watch that fund balance as SED has cited us for it for being too high in the
Bobby, and everybody who works in there, that's great news. Again,
Yeah.
another clean audit.
Yeah, no, it was good.
That says a lot.
Definitely a good situation. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, approval to piggyback off Brighton's CSD transportation contract. Pat?
Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the East Rochester Union Free School District to piggyback off the transportation contract identified as Contract Extension E415875 between the Brighton Central School District and Transpo Bus Services LLC, RMT, for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Policy 7441, reading,
Be it
ma'am?
resolved that the Board of Education approve the first reading of policy number 7441, student voter registration and pre-registration.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Budget development calendar events.
Resolved that the key dates for the preparation of the 2020-2021 general fund budget be approved as guidelines for the administration and the Board of Education.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, future meetings. All right.
Don't get lost.
Yeah.
Because we have treats before we go into executive session.
Well, everyone have a good night.
Thank you.
We'll be going into
Go get it. Jimmy Duncan on the trombone.
Me is Bo Marlowe. Here's a tune that doesn't need any introduction. It's an old, not an old show tune. It's 15 years old.
Well, hello there, Dolly. It's so nice to stand back where you belong. Goes to the school, going to school, goes going to school. You're still going strong. We feel this room, it's swaying, cause the band is playing one of your old favorite songs from way back when. So
Thank you very much. My name's Gene Lange. Thanks for the Travelers Claim Department for coming by today. It was very nice to see all my old cronies from 20 years ago.
Gone 6 o'clock, so I will call this meeting of the Pittsford Town Board to order. If we have a number of opportunities for public comment for each agenda item and also a general public comment session at the end of this meeting. If you are a Pittsford resident and would like to say something, please sign in at the desk with Ms. Reddick and you will be called up in the order in which you signed in. I'm going to ask Town Board Member Stephanie Townsend to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, just one quick announcement tonight, which is to let people know that the town's newest electric vehicle charging station has been installed behind the Spiegel Community Center. It has been up as a matter of state law. And my budget pursues our policies of lower taxes, strong neighborhoods, and continual improvement for Pittsford. I'd like to talk about some of the highlights of the budget. For the second consecutive year, we have cut the town property tax rate, a 1.5% cut in the town property tax rate, and a cut in the overall tax levy. So over the course of the last 2 years, that's been a cumulative total of 8.1% tax rate cut, with a 1% decrease in the overall tax levy for this year. It's compliant with the New York State property tax cap. We maintain the increased funding that we've added for our residential road repaving program. We've made provisions in the budget for improvements to the Pittsford Community Library, significantly increased support easier access for seniors. We've increased funding for Pittsford Youth Services. We continue our support for the Elderberry Express. And our overall goal has been to pursue continuing environmental initiatives that save taxpayers money while protecting our natural resources. You will see environmental upgrades to Kings Bend Park. We're solarizing the 2 lodges there, and we've added on more recreational programs, including some additional concerts. I'd like to talk about the tax rate and tax levy decrease. Again, you can see the decrease in the tax rate from this year's budget for 2019, 1.5% decrease, and also a decrease in the overall tax levy. So again, over the course of 2 consecutive years, a reduction in the town tax rate of over 8%. And so where does that leave Pittsford in relation to other municipalities? So we can take a look at the next slide. One to have in Pittsford, we are the 5th lowest. I'd also like to talk about a comparison of the services that provides. So here are the towns that have tax rates lower than Pittsford, and you can see that in each case Pittsford provides more services to its residents. So Parma, there's no leaf pickup. They pick up brush twice a year. We pick it up on a weekly schedule during the season. Penfield has no leaf pickup and no brush pickup. Mendon, there's no leaf pickup, again, brush pickup twice a year, and they don't have a recreation department or offer those programs to their residents. Perrington is a lower tax rate than Pittsford. They get almost $2 million a year in revenue from a landfill. It's been giving them some real problems. They have a school library district, so the school district pays for their library, whereas Pittsford has a library that's funded by the town. And they have leaf pickup only every 4 to 6 weeks. Henrietta, again, a lower tax rate than Pittsford, has a large commercial tax base, no brush pickup, no leaf pickup. Riga doesn't impose a town property tax at all. All of its revenue comes from a massive landfill out there. And finally, to keep it in perspective, many people don't realize this because all taxes are paid at Town Hall, but your town tax paid to the town of Pittsford, tax levied by the town of Pittsford, amounts to less than 9 cents. It scratches the surface, but it's just an overview of the budget. We continue to support the youth and senior services and our Pittsford Community Library. So going into some of the specifics, for next year, we told the assistance from the town of Pittsford to Pittsford Youth Services totals over $57,000, almost $58,000. The budget honors our town's commitment to quality of life for seniors. We continue to support the various nutrition and lunch programs, recreational activities, and the Elderberry Express that's so important to so many of our senior citizens here in Pittsford. I want to talk a little bit about improvements to the library. We have painted the first floor, added a few bright, fun accent colors. Access to the movie streaming app Canopy, which I didn't even know about myself until the library director brought it up, and that will be for any Pittsford resident who has a library card. And then finally, although it's not part of the budget, it is related to our budgeting and financial management, I'm pleased to let you know that through another year, the town of Pittsford maintains its AAA credit rating. We are the only town in all of the state of New York, north of Westchester County, to have the AAA credit rating, which is the highest credit rating available. There's nothing higher. There are other towns that have certain characteristics in terms of income of residents and other things that go into the mix in determining the town budget posted on the town website on the budget page. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, board members, you have before you draft minutes from our meeting of October 15th. Ms. Reddick, has anyone signed up to comment on the minutes? No one. Any proposed changes or amendments to the minutes? If not, is there a motion for approval?
I'll move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second. Sorry, Miss.
Beckford?
Yes.
Munsinger?
Yes.
Yes.
Townsend?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes. That brings us on to legal matters, and we mentioned this very briefly at the end of the.
But when they say member of the armed forces, will that include guards, members of the guard, and only if they're active duty and deployed? Okay.
Active duty, not necessarily deployed.
Not necessarily, but if they are a full active duty, so it will not include guardsmen who are not.
The statute says United States Armed Forces, and it says that are inactive duty members.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there, Stephanie, would you like to move that?
I would be happy to move that we waive the state and local fees for marriage licenses and marriage certificates effective immediately.
I'll second.
Beckford?
Yes.
Munsinger?
Yes.
O'Connor?
Yes.
Townsend? Smith?
Yes. We come to the matter I mentioned. All right, that brings us on to budget transfers and amendment. We have several budget transfers proposed, one from contingency to attorney outside counsel to cover expenses associated with outside counsel services for assessments and personnel. 18,000 transferred from recreation after-school program salaries to the recreation center salaries generally to cover salary costs, and $17,700 to cover the cost of replacing the AED units and cabinets in town buildings.
Snow and ice agreement with New York State to increase that contract amount for last season so we can be reimbursed from the state to the tune of $136,000. So with increased costs, most cases we'll get that back from the state for plowing and salting their roads. So this is just a precaution so we have salt in hand should we need it to finish off the year.
So Paul, to your point, we are actually going to commit and purchase the salt and have that in the barn?
We will be purchasing the salt. If you okay it, as soon as tomorrow morning, we'll purchase the salt for delivery.
Has the price of salt remained somewhat constant, or do you see elevations year over year over year?
Salt prices go up a little bit. They do have a multiplier in there for a fuel surcharge for the two. A trade-in allowance for the old equipment as well. So it certainly makes sense to be able to take advantage of that and replace those. And then also our fire marshal tells us we should really have those units in more conspicuous cabins, as well as that helps keep the equipment clean. So the cabins associated with each of those units also.
And on the rec center salaries, did we add some staff that weren't originally budgeted?
We went to 2 people at the front desk,
Okay.
can you remember that?
Yeah.
So this is to help cover that.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or discussion, board members?
I will move the transfers.
I'll second.
Beckford?
Yes.
Munsinger?
Yes.
O'Connor?
Yes.
Townsend?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
And we should probably move the budget amendment as well.
Process.
Okay. And we have a good business relationship with them, and
Yes.
we like to do it, and we would have paid this anyway,
Yes.
because we pay our bills. So therefore, the voucher payment authorization, board members, any discussion or questions? If not, I'll move it.
I'll second.
Beckford?
Yes.
Munsinger?
Yes.
O'Connor?
Yes.
Townsend?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes. Right. We have our Winter 2020 recreation programs. I want to thank Recreation Director Hollenbeck for another great group of programs here. Whatever, can I ask you, whatever became of the ballroom dancing class? Is that, do we, I don't see that anymore. My wife and I used to enjoy that a lot. We did it for years.
We lost interest. To offer an inclusive basketball program on Sunday. Exciting program, something that we're looking forward to. It's kind of a pilot program with the Autism Council, and hopefully we'll be able to talk more programs.
All right.
Yeah, Jessica, can you just give us an idea how some of these ideas came into existence? Some of these are quite creative.
Yeah, we get a mix of resident feedback and instructors that come to us and request to offer programs. So once we get that information, either one way or the other, then we sit down, look at it as a team, make sure we have a spot for it in the facility. The community center.
I've had the chance to review the applications for all 6 of those named, and the background checks have been completed successfully. So there are no issues with respect to moving forward and approving these.
Okay. Board, any questions or comments?
No, I will move that we approve the hiring and salary changes.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Beckford?
Yes.
Munsinger?
Yes.
O'Connor?
Yes.
Townsend?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes. We also have before us a conference attendance for continuing education request for 3 employees to attend the Genesee Valley Recreation and Park Society annual conference at the Seneca Park Zoo. This is $135, falls within the Recreation Department's budget. That's great. That's great.
Congrats.
Nicely done. Very good. Board members, other business. Stephanie, did you have a chance to meet with Elderberry Express?
Yes.
Can you fill us in?
Yeah, I have some updates and some recommendations for some next steps. So this really boils down to 2 separate issues. We've gone to Elderberry Express about the possibility of expanding transit for adults with disabilities. What was very clear in that meeting, they made very clear, is they do not have the capacity to do that. And so before we come back to that expansion issue, we need to address their current difficulties. They only have the one staff person who works 3 hours a day, and she said that it's even difficult to process all the requests in a day. So I really stressed to them that we are available to help. We realize they're independent, but as a funder of them, and out of our concern for senior transit services, we are very much available to help. So some of the discrepancy, I think, was because our estimate of the users was based on what we knew from the community survey, which was around 57 users currently of those who are older, to help increase that. Another thing that I looked into that I'm happy to, sort of on behalf of the town, do some further work with is getting more support from the 2 local colleges. I did confirm from Lifespan that their insurance that they offer will cover college students.
Okay.
So that was the one question of whether that would be a problem. But especially they can help with the winter gap because the students are here in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So I'm happy. I've already done some preliminary conversation with Nazareth, but I'm happy to pursue that a little more fully. I think also with just sort of some of the towns who have this type of service face. So it may be we could...
How many other towns have this type of service, do you know?
I don't know exactly. I know of a few others that do. Penfield and Brighton share it.
Okay.
And I believe Irondequoit has one. So I certainly could do some calling around, find out how many there are, and maybe collectively, certainly I'm happy. I work with Causewave on a number of programs, and they may be interested in taking it to a professional level of advertising campaign.
Nothing to be lost by my inquiry. I mean, I think in my opinion, everything you mentioned is a good idea. Why don't we get a collection together of all the recruitment material?
Think outside the box.
Yeah.
So if we can start sort of thinking, I can do some research around, there's nothing, to my knowledge, in Monroe County or this region, but I can do some looking around and inquiring outside of our region of what other people have done. There is a convention coming up in Saratoga Springs in a few weeks that I normally go to of other municipal officials. I can ask them and just sort of start doing some, and if likewise all of us can tap into our sort of government networks to see how is anybody else addressing this, because we're not the only ones who have this issue.
And, one of the things that occurs to me is that if you recall our last conversations with RTS about the options they proposed for these community mobility zones, there was a certain amount of
half of our town.
And are all of those services going to be provided directly by RTS, or are they going to contract with some third party to do it?
They are on-demand service. It is not clear yet. At least they were not able, at the time I spoke to them, to tell me, but I can follow up with them again to see if that might be something that it's probably the most efficient way is to set up some...
Yeah, like if we could piggyback on something like that, so we could go outside of the geographic restriction.
Outside of the that would be certainly something we could look at. One thing we want to make sure, again, in light of the population we're looking to serve, is just keeping in mind, the corporate entities. So... but I think there's lots of outside the box thinking we can do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the work continues, but I think so far we're on the right track.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we at least have a start. I'll sort of do a little more research. I'll outline what some of the initial options seem to be.
Good.
And bring them back to you all, and as well as to the Elderberry Express, because again, in terms of for the senior part, I don't want to step on their toes around volunteer recruitment, but they seemed very happy to get help.
Good.
So the major needs, Stephanie, seem to be not just drivers, but also front office staff as well to handle incoming phone calls.
The front office, and that's where they were a little bit divided. Some of the board members were like, yes, if we had more money, we could expand that 3 hour a day position. But then there were other people who said, no, the person who currently holds that position is not interested in expanding the hours, and they apparently have tried sharing that position before, and it didn't work well. So it was, I didn't get a clear sense from them, but at this time they were not requesting more funds.
I feel like their volunteers too have dropped substantially within like the last 2 years.
Yes, in fact, they said...
I want like a huge drop off.
Yes, they said that they almost shut down last winter because of the lack of volunteers.
Yeah.
Which, I...
A lot of changes,
Did they say why, as far as that people move, or...
It's It's an issue that every volunteer organization is facing, no matter. They say it gets worse every winter because a number of their regular volunteers go south.
Well, if we've accomplished nothing more so far in our attempt to find some solution for the disabled, we have identified some issues for the existing Olderberry service, and we seem to be within striking distance of being able to help them with that. So that's good. Thank you so much.
Okay, I will keep you all updated. I'll do a little more research and come back with some potential ideas.
Thank you, sir.
Many
Thank you.
board members, any other business matters come up under other business? If not, Ms. Reddick, do we have anyone signed up to speak in the public comment section? Seeing none, we thank you all for coming tonight. If you were a student who needs a certificate signed, please approach us. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Before you knew the meaning of love, I took your hand and promised you paradise. Naive, you fell right into my plans. Since I knew just what to tell you, I knew just what to do. You believe the things I said to you. Too bad they were not true. When you asked about forever, I said take life day by day. Then you asked me if I love you. These words you heard me say. I'll get back to you. Since we said our last goodbyes, I called you on the telephone. I want to give that one more try. The warning signs are in your eyes. There's danger in the air. How could I keep you holding on when I never really cared? So you're gonna think it over. Just need a little time. I guess I had it coming when you gave me your reply. I'll get back to you. In the meantime, I'll get back to you. It seems to me you don't think it's possible I've changed. I think you've learned the rules to my new game. So you know just what to tell me. You know just what to do. I can't believe you say it's over and we're through. I'll get back to you. In the meantime, I'll get back to you. When it feels right, I'll get back.
Aye.